refer to it.
Okay, sure.
Okay. And apart from that, what are the database being used in US? What are the database servers? What if any different tools are being used? What are those tools? I believe DB2 and Oracle are used at this moment. Or apart from that, any other DB technologies are being used that we would like to know. If any different processes are used apart from our normal processes that we would like to use. Again, username, passwords for the database and servers. Any specific scripts or anything else, and any other things you are aware and we might not, and we might need to use those. So if you guide us go through all those details, that would be better.
Okay. Do you want me to start with BOFA and we'll work from there? Is that a good place to start, or because BOFA is kind of specific to the BOFA PRW I'm talking about is specific to a specific thing that we do here, which hasn't been done in other places. So we can start there if you want, or I can start with a general. Here are the servers and.
Right, we can start with the BOFA. Before moving to that, I would just ask you what different clients we support from US as a DBA.
Okay, let me share my screen here.
Okay.
Share your desktop. Okay. I'm just going to share one monitor. Okay. All right. Let me move something over there so you can see it.
Okay. Not it.
Let's see here. All right. I've got the.
Okay, I can see your screen now.
You can see it. Good. Okay. Yeah. Let me just pull this file that I have about the US DB servers. I think this will be helpful. I don't know if I sent this to you. I will send it to you.
Okay.
So there's an Excel spreadsheet of all the US DB servers. So we've got them in 3 different locations. We have them in Las Vegas. The Las Vegas ones used to be in Burlington, but they moved to Las Vegas. We have in Atlanta and New Jersey. So you can see there the server names, the IP address, the Oracle user, the Oracle password, the type of database it is. Mostly it's Oracle. It's a few DB2s. We don't only use one DB2 actively. Then you can see the databases that are on the system, and then you can see the uses for those systems, what product they're used for, what project or product they're used for.
Okay.
So we can go down the list quickly if you want to just go down the list. In Las Vegas, we've got the CLS. These are all these servers in Las Vegas, I think, are all dedicated machines. Most of these are dedicated machines except for New Jersey. I think New Jersey's are all VMs.
Okay.
So in Vegas, we have these CLS RH51 and 52. The 5.1 is used. As you can see, the purpose is there. It's used for BOFA, PRW. I don't think we really use it a lot for 11G Golden Gate anymore. They used to use it for that, but probably not anymore. And then you see 5.2. I guess I don't think we use that for BDB a lot anymore. That's moved to 12C, or we use a New Jersey server for that mostly. But we used to use it for AMX and a few other things there, I guess. That's probably not used too much anymore. We have GSS RH51. This is an important server in the US because it also is used by the run team for the deployments.
Okay.
Infrastructures on that server. So it's an important one to deploy to the servers make deployments to the servers in the US. It's used for BOFA PRW. Some of these are, I don't know if you're familiar with a product called CLS. We used to support it here. It moved away probably 3 years ago now, but they still use some of these servers for this old product CLS. It's now in Pune. I can give you the contact person who handles it. But I think they still maybe use a few of these servers for that CLS product.
Okay.
And this MADB2.
But are you responsible for maintaining CLS database also, or
No, they have their own DBA now in
right,
Pune,
right.
who
Chetan.
maintains it. Uh, Chetan,
Yeah,
yes,
right,
yes,
right.
yes. And he maintains it, yeah.
Okay.
So they do all their DevOps and their own stuff over there now. But I think maybe they might still use some databases here.
Okay.
I think they're trying to move away from that. Maybe they have. I'm not exactly sure, but they used to be use some of these databases here in the U.S.
Okay. And we are still using those servers for GPP as well, right?
Yes. We're still using some of those for GP as well, both PRW for some of these ones in Las Vegas
Okay.
are both PRW ones.
Okay. So you are
Um,
purely into GPP support only, right? No other projects apart from GPP.
just GPP, that's correct.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay, so let me. I think this MADB2 server. I don't think this is really used anymore. This could probably go away. We used to use it as a time zone testing server.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think they use it anymore. Then we have some in Atlanta here. We also used to. We don't really. No, we do support, I guess, the classic here. So we have some GPP3 databases here that are used for GPP3 projects.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that CLS RH53 is used. It might still be used by CLS. It's also used, I think, by the GPP3 people.
Okay.
And then we have CLS RH54. I think that there might be some a little bit of both stuff on there. Maybe some GPP3 stuff as well. You can see that we used to use this one for DB2. We used this other one, CLS RH52. We used to use these for DB2 when it was on a different fix pack, a different product version. We don't do that anymore. So those aren't really used for DB2 at all anymore. We only use one server in the one in New Jersey for DB2. So those are really, as I said, not used for DB2 anymore. We have this one called Banner Aura. This is one we use for both a PRW. Both a PRW masters are there,
Okay.
and we kind of use it as a base for storing all of the releases and processing the final scripts.
Okay.
And then we have GSS RH53. I think that's maybe still be used for CLS. I guess we used to use it as 11G Golden Gate target. So I guess CLS 5.3 was the source, and this one was the target. Not sure if we really have used that anymore for 11G because we've moved off 11G Golden Gate to 12C.
Mm-hmm.
The New Jersey ones are the most active ones that we have now. Those are the ones they use for the newer type GPP products, the 4.5s and the 4.6s.
Mm-hmm.
So this NJ Oracle 01, NJ Oracle 02, these are heavily used. The NJ Oracle 01 is an 11G database, so we use it for maybe a little bit of both PRW, but also use it for SunTrust, for Banamex, and I'm not sure about City RTP anymore. Probably don't use too many, but the SunTrust, Banamex, certainly they have schemas on that server.
Okay.
That are active environments that are being used. This also used to be used for a product called GFX. I don't know if it still is or not.
Mm-hmm.
They may have moved it off to some other place.
Okay.
We used to have as you can see, we used to have a whole bunch of different projects and on all these servers, and now they've kind of shifted off and done their own things, and we're not exactly sure whether some of these schemas are still being used or not. So we have NJ Oracle 02, that's heavily used as well. Lots of environments on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So you have two really active databases on that. This NJ Oracle and the BMX NJ Oracle. So this NJ Oracle is used for Amex, BDB, product, and STT, which is State Street. This other one here is used for PNC RTP, regular PNC, PRW, Santander. I think we have some Goldman Sachs on there. Not sure about. I think we did put a little bit of those other two products, Suite and MQG, but those probably not actively used for those. But there might be some schemas on there related to those projects. Also, we have our 12G Golden Gate source on here. So there are some projects here, as you know, that use Golden Gate. I'm not sure if they're really, maybe they may have moved some of these Golden Gate stuff to Pune. You would probably know better than me. Right. But I think it was PNC RTP was a Golden Gate product, and probably PNC. Amex was using 12C Golden Gate. So I think those are the main ones that we had here that had 12C Golden Gate schemas. So the source was on this server here. Then we had this CLS Oracle -1. I guess that was being used by CLS. We also took it and used it as the Golden Gate target. So that's the target for the Golden Gate schemas.
Okay.
All right, and then this other one, these are all VMs, as I mentioned, in New Jersey. Okay. So this one here is the main one for DB2. So this is where all the DB2 activity is taking place. So that's for the BG project. I don't know if you're familiar with the BG project. BG is a company out of, I don't know, they're not really a bank. They're kind of a company that helps banks, I guess, in Europe. And so they're a kind of centralized company that provides these services to other European banks, I guess. So, okay. That's BG. So that's the main DB2, as I said. So that's where all the activity is taking place now for DB2. Then we have this other one called GPP3, Oracle One. That's in New Jersey as well. That, of course, that is one for GPP3. I think that's the main one for GPP3. Although I think we looked at some other ones. I think that they may still have older schemers on some of those other systems we looked at, the ones in Las Vegas and Atlanta. But this is the newer one where they have all their newer stuff. Okay. There are two environments pages here in the U.S. that are good reference. One is for the GPP3 schemas, and the other one is for the GPP4, 5, and the CLS schemas. Of course, we don't really care about the CLS, but the GPP4 and 5 schemas. So I have one of those up. I can just show you it quickly. Here's the one that for the GPP4 and 5. Okay. So you can see Jim Capone was the one who designed and maintains this. This. So you can see all the projects up here at the top. So you got Santander, Goldman Sachs, City RTP. This is States.
You are in that page link at this moment.
It's the RTP. Yes. Just can you see it?
Not yet. I believe it's a bit slow. Maybe.
Okay.
In the link URL, right?
Yeah. I have it on the page that
monitor
that I'm sharing.
Not yet. I'm not sure.
You're not seeing it. Okay.
It might be late. Maybe it's.
Okay. So you're probably seeing the Word document still.
Sorry, you're sharing Word document earlier, or
I was sharing a Word document. Yeah, you didn't see that.
No, I was. I thought you were sharing Excel.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Excel. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that. All right. So you're still seeing the Excel spreadsheet.
Yes. Still, I'm seeing.
Okay. So I don't know why that's not showing up.
Not sure. It might be slow or something, but I don't think it's with the voice. It seems it's quite good speed. Not sure why it's.
Okay. I can try to drag it over again if you want. Can you see it? Can you see it now? Can't see it now.
Just a minute. Not it. Maybe you can, I think, disconnect, share back again your desktop. Maybe that could help.
Okay, sure, try that.
Yeah.
Stop sharing. Okay, so I've stopped sharing, so now I'll share again.
Okay, it stopped sharing now. Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm sharing my primary monitor. So let's just get the Skype session. Now I'll try to bring that Excel up.
Okay.
See if you can see that. Can you see the, not the Excel, I mean the website. Can you see the website now?
Yeah, it's loading. It might,
Okay.
yeah, I can see the website now.
Okay, good. So up here at the top, we've got all the different US-based or what used to be US-based products.
Okay.
So you got the Santander, Goldman Sachs, Citi RTP, STT is State Street, PNC RTP, Banamex, Amex, BDB, SunTrust. This is both a PRW, BGC, which is the DB2 product that we talked about. Here's all the product databases that we have for product.
Okay.
And here's the CLS. So you can click on any one of these. So if you want to look at PNC, here's the QA ones, here's the dev ones. You can look at the QA ones here. So here's all of the PNC QA environments in the US.
Okay.
So you can use this as a reference. Of course, you can see across here. It's on the main page by default, so you can see the environment type information and a little bit of database information. Is the database that it's on, and here's the schema name, etc. If you want more database information, click on the database tab. This gives you as you can see for PNC pre-QA, it will give you the host, the listener information, what type of database it is, database name, and the user password, and then I think it gives you master information as well here. Okay. So and the Oracle version. So I think it's somewhat up to date. I don't know if it's totally up to date at the moment, but it's a good reference if you want to know the particulars about a particular environment. Okay. Here in the U.S. Okay. So I just want to mention that. Let me try to go back to the Excel spreadsheet.
And what are those PRD database? Product database means it's a old. What exactly those are?
The PRDT.
Yeah.
That's the ones they use for product. Okay. So not for any project, but product, like product 4.6 and so forth. Let's look at those QA databases. So we used to have some of these. Most of these I think have moved. I don't think we have the product QA, but we used to have product QA ones here, 467, 466, and 465. We used to maintain those in the U.S. as well. I don't think we do that anymore. I do think they maybe use this one. There's a few here maybe that they still use. Okay. But I don't think other ones they use. But there are still a development group in New York that uses some of these product ones for their product development. So there are still a few there.
Oh, okay.
But that's what product means, yeah. So here's the dev ones, and yeah. So there are still some dev ones in there. There's some developers here in the U.S. that product developers. Keith Meyer, I don't know if you know any of these people. Keith Meyer, Manoj, Menon. So there's still some developers here. They maintain their own product database, product dev schemas. Okay. So I think there's a few there might still be used.
How many people are still working for these projects altogether, QA and developer?
Oh boy, I'm not sure how many people are still in the U.S. At our location, we don't have many people at our location altogether. So there's like 3 or 4 QA people. Okay. And then there's the main development person would be Keith at our location. Well, no, there's also Kishore, Kishore is he's a architecture expert, but he does some development as well. So maybe there's 3 or 4 developers at our location too, and then of course there's other ones in New York. So I don't know how many there are in New York.
Okay.
There's QA people and there's development people there. So there's a few people still around here doing some of that.
Okay.
Okay. So let me go back to the Excel spreadsheet. Hopefully you'll be able to still see this when I switch. Can you see the Excel spreadsheet?
You clicked on it. Yeah, I can see it now. That's good.
Okay, good. Okay, so as I said down here, there's 2 environments pages, one for TPP3 and one for the TPP4 and 5, which is the one we just looked at. So those are a good reference for all that information.
Okay.
Let's see. That's the main overview of the US DB servers.
Okay.
So I'll send you that spreadsheet.
Right.
So do you want to jump into the BOFA stuff now, or are there any other questions you want me to?
This username for system and sys are Oracle, right? For all the servers, or there is any difference with that?
There is might be a difference here. Most of the system ones are Oracle. I think there might be. Let me just bring this page over. Hopefully you can see this. Can you see my Word document now called demo.doc?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's the password as we mentioned. Most of the passwords for the server itself are this here, but there's one Vanna Aura that's a little different. So for the databases, for most of the admin, it's going to be the system and sys password are going to be Oracle. For this one database, it's going to be a little different. It's manager. I don't know why that one's manager. We probably should have made that consistent, but for that one database, one server, it's going to be the manager.
Okay.
I think that's all the information on here. This is mostly BOFA specific, but yeah. So it's mostly going to be Oracle for the system password.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Should I go into BOFA, or do you want to?
Yeah. We can jump. Yeah, we can jump into the BOFA.
Want to jump BOFA? Okay, sure. I can do that.
Yeah.
Just out of the way here. All right. So let me bring over a workflow document here. Can you see my workflow.doc? Okay, great. So the BOFA PRW is as you know from before, that it's a totally manual process. It's a throwback to doing all of this, what we do today, automatically, kind of doing it in a manual way. So it never hasn't ever been integrated into the whole master's structure. Or in Jenkins and master structure. So it's all kind of as I said, manual. So all the check-in, the build, and deployment, and all that just done manually. So here's a kind of an overview of the check-in. This is a little outdated, but it's mostly applies now. Instead of QC, of course, we're using Jira. So there's a few different things here, but most of it is still the same type of thing. So the developer would do the check-in part. They would have their own QC about some defect that they need to take care of in both PRW. We used to, as the dev team or the DevOps team, used to go in, assign statuses to that, but we don't really do that anymore. We don't really. That's in Jira now. We just let the developers do that. But once they finish their testing, they need to, of course, check in the SQL. If there's a DML then what they do is they apply the SQL statements to the master. Actually, they go into the master in SQL Developer and they apply the actual statements for the SQL. And that they do that either we have a master and a client schema. Most of the time they're doing it in the client. Sometimes they might do it in the master for certain tables. As far as views, we have sched and pre. The only one that's being used now is freeze. So it's mostly just freeze. So there's a freeze master, and there's a freeze client master. So they would take their SQL and they apply it to the master, and that produces a UPGD entry. It's just like in the regular master, but it's just not automated. There's no master UI or any of that. If there's a SQL for non-system tables, there really hasn't been in quite a while, but if there is, like for banks or something, they would just send us it manually via email or something, or attach it to the Jira ticket they could attach it to on QC. If there's DDL, there hasn't been DDL in quite some time either. But if there was, when there used to be DDL, they would just send that to us, again via email or via the QC. Mostly, it's just been them checking stuff into the master, and that's pulling it from the UPGD table. So that's what they do first. They would run those SQL statements against the master. Then they email a check-in notification. I think what we've asked them to do now, they used to just email the check-in notification. I think what we've asked them to do now is to open a Jira DBA ticket, saying that they've checked in this SQL and they want the DBA now to extract it and to produce a script and to maybe deploy it to one of the internal environments. So that's kind of the check-in process.
Okay.
Now the build.
I have a question here, Dev.
Sure.
Just go to the top just a bit.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. So we have two masters, right? Master and client, right? Those are the two.
That's correct.
Okay. So certain tables check-in are captured from the master, and certain table check-ins are captured from the client. I'm talking about data only, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And DDL we never capture through the masters. Those are only captured using the scripts we introduce in the release scripts directly. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So the developer do all the check-ins, then they send us the mail. If they have DDL, we will get it in the mail. Then we accordingly take those changes and manage release, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Got it. We can proceed.
Okay. Sure. No problem. Okay. So here's the kind of the build process. This is the part where the DBA takes over. So we load Toad or SQL Developer, and we go to the usually the client is where the changes are all that take place, and that's where the UPGD entries are. And we run some queries on that to determine what the developer did and what we need to pull. Here we have three different types of changes. This is the old way, I guess, that the CR number used to be populated. There were 9999 changes, 888 changes, and 1234 changes. So the 9999 changes were mostly just system type tables that were non-rule tables and non-message tables. Okay. So logical fields, logical field XPath, journal messages, those type of tables. The 888 ones are the rules tables, P rules conditions, etc. The 1234 ones are the message ones. I forget what some of those names are, but message ones that begin with message. So we query that freeze client master. We see what changes there are, and once we see what changes there are, we extract them manually. To extract them, there's an extraction script, and I can show you that a little later on. I have another Word document here which has some more in-depth information. This is kind of just the workflow document, but there's an extraction script. So what we do, or what I do here, is I just open up a DOS window, I SQL plus to the freeze client master. I run this script. this script will extracts the changes. There's a script for each of the different types of changes, 999.98888. It extracts them, puts them in a file, and that's the file that I have. It extracts them as PL SQL blocks, just like the regular UPG entries.
Okay, so, developers assign these CR numbers, right? After doing the check-ins?
No. They get automatically assigned.
Okay.
I think that's part of the trigger. The trigger automatically assigns these. It determines whether the change is what type of change it is, and it automatically assigns the CR number.
Okay. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
So, So we extract these changes via this Oracle Aura CR extraction script. And I can show you that in the other Word document.
Mm-hmm.
If there's DDL, if there's non-SQL stuff, we can add them manually to the script now. We then edit the scripts for spooling. We add some spooling stuff in there, so it spools to a log file. We add commits. Maybe add some comments on. We add the JIRA GPD number, the developer name, the date, maybe. So we just tweak the scripts a little bit to add that information to them. We also, if needed, we tweak the scripts for any type of reusability, like if the developer, if it needs a delete statement or something, although that should come with the PL SQL. But if there's any performance type thing we need to do with it, or table spaces, or anything we need to tweak the SQL, we'll do that. Then we take the SQL scripts. We have a test schema that we have for BOFA. We'll test the scripts. So we copy them to a temporary directory. We connect to the test schema. We run the scripts twice. We just run them manually. It's a SQL plus operation. We just run them once, run them the second time. Make sure there's no errors or no explainable errors. Well, the only errors that are explainable. And then if this is the first check-in they've done for this particular release, then we'll create the release folder in Perforce for it. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we check in the scripts into Perforce in the release folder.
Okay.
So that's kind of the overview of the build process.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So I can I have another Word document that has some more details there. But then what we have is the deployment. So now we've got the scripts in there, and they may want it deployed. So we have I think that BOFA Freeze, there's a sandbox. I don't think they have a DevI scheme. In the U.S. here, we used to have DevI schemas. So there's those development integration schemas that would go there first, and then the developer would test there, provide a update saying that everything was okay, and it can be promoted to QA. I don't think that's probably not the way it happens in Israel and in Pune. Mm-hmm. I think you just have a QA schema. You don't use the DevI. So we used to use the DevI. I don't think we're using it anymore either here. So I think the main things here are the sandbox and QA. So that as a DBA, what I typically do is I'll deploy to the sandbox, and then usually the run team will deploy it to the QA once QA has indicated that they want to deploy there. Okay. So and then to deploy these, again, totally manual process. You bring down the environment, you copy the scripts to some temporary directory, either on your laptop in a DOS window or on a server, on a Linux server. You run the scripts just with SQL Plus by connecting to the schemas and executing them in the proper order. And then you make sure there's no errors, review the logs, and you bring up the environment with the appropriate code base.
Okay.
So that's really the way the deployment works.
Okay.
Again, it's just
so I have a question here.
Sure.
For this project, then only owner user is being used, or application user are also there?
There's a sandbox, which is just a schema with no application. Okay. There also is QA. I think they call it QA2. So you may hear the QA2. QA. They want to deploy to QA2. It's called QA2 now, I guess. That is an environment.
Okay.
So that has an application server connected to it.
Like we have two schemas, right? One is owner schema, which holds all the objects, and another application user, to which GPP connects. And owner user, all the grants from owner to application user given for insert, update, delete. So that's that kind of arrangement also here in this project, or only one single schema?
The sandbox is just one single schema.
Mm-hmm.
The QA is a owner schema paradigm. So it's got an owner schema and it's got a user schema. Yes.
Okay. So in that case, all the grants and everything also we need to take care, right? Manually?
Yes, manually that the grants we need to take care of. Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Yep. They are in place now, so we don't usually. We haven't had an occasion where we've added a new table or anything, so we'd have to redo it. So most of the time it's just been DML recently. So we haven't really had an occasion to have to drop the grants and redo the grants and synonyms. So
right.
Mostly they've just stayed in place.
Okay.
But is an owner, user, and owner. Now the user in the U.S. is unlike in the Tel Aviv naming it's _ U we use here, and then the owner is _ O.
Right.
That's the way we've done it here. So that's the deployment, and then let's see here. Okay, so we have a wrap-up step here, where once we've done all of that, we'll send out some email. I guess we'll usually just reply to the check-in email. Now that lately we've been doing that through Jira now, as I said. So the check-in is a Jira ticket, and then we respond to the Jira ticket with a email saying we've done the build, we've done the deployment, we've checked everything in the Perforce, and so we're all done with our part. And then we usually close out the Jira ticket at that point. This putting a similar note into the actual Jira GPD ticket. We don't usually, I don't do that really anymore. We sometimes need to inform the CM team of any special items. I haven't really had too many lately, but there may be some special things associated with what they've done. And in the past we have ad hoc scripts. We've had some special instructions for the installation notes. Interface types is also something that we need to note for the run team to put in the installation notes, because if they add a new interface type, that affects the connection points for both a PRW. So we need to alert them to that fact that they need to change the connection point for this particular new interface type. So that's something we usually alert the CM team if there's anything to do with new interface types or updating of interface types that change the connection points.
Okay. So what is the example of ad hoc script here for certain ad hoc scripts might be?
I'm sorry?
You mentioned that we need to inform if a certain ad hoc script has been changed, right? So what could be the example for it? That's what I wanted to understand.
Oh, we haven't done an ad hoc in a while.
Okay.
But I think we've had ad hoc scripts where we've been updating fields. Maybe we add a column and we need to populate it. Okay. So we send them an ad hoc script. We could do it, I guess, within the script itself, but maybe it's been a case where it might be a large table, so they might want to. We maybe thought they might want to do it separately rather than doing it as part of the deployment script. I think that's maybe something we've done in the past. Can't think of any other examples at the moment.
So ad hoc script, you means it's not a release script, it's a different script, right? One time script. So that what you meant? It's not a.
That's correct.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, it's we deliver outside. Well, we deliver as part of the release, but it's just outside of the deployment scripts.
Okay.
it's
So
something
they
they maybe need to run before they do the deployment, or maybe after deployment they need to run it, or
okay.
at some point when they have a maintenance down period or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, got it, got it. Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So that's the build deployment and the wrap up. So for subsequent check-ins, we go through that same process again. For as long as it's the same release, we just keep adding scripts to that particular release.
Mm-hmm.
And once it's once the release is done and they want to package it up and send it to the customer, again the packaging is a manual process as well. What we've been doing is the CM people, the run team people now, usually send us a request saying we want to, this release needs to go out. Can you package up the scripts for us? We've been using this Vanna Or server as a server for storing these releases and for packaging them there. I mean, it really could be done anywhere. Maybe we could just have them, the run team, pull them from Proforce. That might be an okay thing to do. So we typically what we do is we go to this server called Banner War. We go to this BOPA releases directory. We create a release directory for the release that we're sending out. So it might be 232. We're up to 70 now. So 70 is the current release. So this might be 232 to 70, and we put the date. And we transfer the DB scripts from Perforce to this release directory. We add in an execution script, which is just the order in which the client should run the DB scripts. So it's just a listing of the DB scripts in the order that they should be run, because there might be a proper sequence that they need to run in. There are some leftover files that we have from what we used to do before. So we copy these from previous releases, what we usually do. Let me see what we do here. Okay, and then we create.
What does that DB check does it?
The DB check, yeah. So this is the main thing that we had to put on here. So this was this is something that tests to see if there's any interface types.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any changes to connection points?
Okay.
So we used to have lots of more scripts,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we used to have big scripts.
Okay.
Now we don't really have too big a script. So when we had big scripts, we ran this check. We would check to see, are there any interface types or any connection points that changes. It would alert us to that fact, so we could make sure that we told the customer about that. We also used to have these entries that had US1 in the entry. So it didn't have a generic. I guess the generic was GPK.
Okay.
So we needed to switch them manually from US1 to GPK. So that's another thing that check tells us: do we have any entries that are US1 or GPK? Now the check usually, for the US1 and GPK, usually doesn't find anything anymore. For the interface types, the scripts are so small that we usually know that whether there's interface types or not. So, we still run the check, but since we're not doing big scripts anymore, it's just an added check, I guess, to make sure things are okay. Then so we have the US1 occurrences, as I said, so it checks for that. If we did have a US1 occurrence, we'd have to replace it with GPK. There are interface type occurrences, so we need to, so it tells us whether we have new or old MQ references in the interface types tables. So we need to alert the customer about that. Then we also change the interface type to not active. We were told that those should be delivered to the customer as not active, and the customer will activate them themselves. So that's something we do manually. So once we've gone through that process.
No active means, so we update some column in the interface types table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a status column, or
Okay.
I forget what the exact column name is. I think it's something with status.
Okay.
And that we change. If it's active, then we change it to not active.
Okay.
So when the customer deploys it won't be active immediately. They'll have to activate it, which I guess is the preferred method. for the customer. So we copy them all to this two-bank directory, and then along with the execution order, so the scripts and the execution order go in the this two-bank directory. Then we'll email the CM team, the run team, that will respond to the Jira ticket saying that we packaged the whole thing. It's in this directory on Banner Aura. And then we'll also inform them if there are any special items as well at that time. We probably told them before, but we'll tell them again that there's interface types and there's changes to the MQ references, and you need to take note of that. Okay. So we'll once we've done that, we're done with the packaging portion for in terms of the DBA, and then the run team will pull the scripts from the Banner Aura. They'll package it with a code base. They'll zip it all up, and they'll deliver it to BOFA. BOFA actually has a special process for delivery. They actually have their own site that they want all of this delivered onto, not our FTP site. So, and there's all types of security for their site. So the run team has some special stuff they need to do for delivery as well. So anyway, but that's the run team. So that's kind of the workflow process. Yeah, I do have another document here I can go over. That we've just some key points that augment this. So let me bring this over, and hopefully you can see it.
Yeah, okay. I can see it.
You can see that. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So here's just some key points based upon that workflow. So here's the U.S. database server. The main one, as I said, was Banner Aura. That's the one that has the master on it.
Okay.
And so there's the instance name, and there's some scheme information, and the
those are master names, right?
Where's the master names?
The
I should have them here. I don't have them here. Okay. Here's the host information, the instance, administrator, the user. Here's user information. I don't know if we have any users on there yet. All right, so there are masters. I maybe have them down below here.
Okay.
So the Banner Aura is mainly used for the masters, the super master and the client master. And there's other databases we looked at that they use mostly for the test and internal. You consult the BOFA environments page. So we looked at the environments page. So that's the same environments page we looked at. So there's the link for that. Here's the TNS names for V11G QA1. You probably already have that as part of the general TNS names. Here are some views. So we do have different views for SCAD, freeze, pre-prod, and prod. The only one I'm seeing being used for quite some time now is freeze. I think they may do some rebases to the other views, but they're not checking into the other views that I see. So from a DBA perspective, I think freeze is the only one. And as I said, the one that the last one they released was 232.70. 4.0.232.70. That was on September 18th. So that's where we are now, at 70.
Okay. So who does decide the release number? Basically, it's not automized, right?
No, I think that I think we just go in incremental order. So the last one was 232.69, and then before that. So, but I think it's the run team in coordination with the project manager, or like Inbal. I don't know if you've heard her name before. Inbal is associated with both. And he's the project manager, and Jim Donahoe is also involved in BOFA as well. So I guess they, in coordination with the run team, usually Jim Capone, they'll decide what the release number is. But usually it's just the next incremental number.
Okay.
So we usually just up it by one, and that's usually the number. Now some of these releases don't have scripts. They only have a code.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes the DBA, there's no coordination between the code release number and the DB number. So they don't go in sync. So sometimes there's a code release, but the DB stays at the previous version. Mm-hmm. So that they're not necessarily a match between those two.
Okay.
Everything is in Perforce here. Mm-hmm. So you can see we have the different views in Perforce. And for the DBA, the main one is going to be the freeze. And there's the path and the stream and the route. So I think this is just the way I set it up. I think that stream is just both a freeze. Mm-hmm. So you can set up and take a look at that Perforce. That's where all the scripts will be for the freeze releases. Okay. We have a master. You asked about master versus client tables.
I have one question, David.
Sure.
Okay. So as we have report or history for other projects, so do we have anything like that in BOPA PRW? It's a single schema only, active schema only?
I think it's just single schema only. Yeah.
Okay.
I think they had asked about something about reporting database, but I don't think it ever came to fruition. So the only thing we were concerned about is just the single schema.
Okay. Got it. You can proceed.
Oh, okay. Sure. So there's it has the old super master client format. So the two masters, the super master, of course, and the client. So some check-ins are done with the soup master and some are done with the client master. So these are just a listing of these are the DB changes that would be applied to the master schema. So that is the designation for the master schema. Master both for freeze _M for master. So it's really the soup master is what it is, but it's _M is for the master. K+1 at B11G2I1. So these are the tables that the developer would run the SQL against the master schema. Mm-hmm. You can see logical fields and journal messages and all of that. And then there are the ones that they would run against the client schema. So this is master both for freeze C. So these are all going to be the rule changes, the message changes, and then some other 999 changes as well. So you can see P rules. These are the message tables that I mentioned before: message field and message field settings, and then you get P rules conditions. So they would check it in the client schema for these tables.
Okay. For any view, we have two masters, right? One is super master with M and client master with C.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So super master means are there any other underlying masters are also there? Like in classic, we have master 34_GPP for the SCADE, and whatever the other project like ANZ or maybe Barclay. So whatever the change is done on the super master, those would be propagated to underlying other projects. So something similar is here, or it's only the naming convention only?
It's only the soup master and one client, just the BOPA client.
Okay.
There's no other clients under it. I think the idea was in the beginning that there might be other clients under one soup master, but it never came to fruition. So for all of these, there's just for freeze, SCAD, and pre-prod, there's just two masters. There's just the soup master and the BOPA client master.
Okay, for each view there would be these two masters would be there, right? For free.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And why did these two segregation were done? Like certain tables in this master and certain tables in other master. Is there any specific reason for that?
I think that just used to be these were like developed years ago.
Okay.
Like 2013 or somewhere around there. So they're quite old. So I think that used to be the way that it worked, right? I think back then they used to have the soup master and then you have a bunch of clients under the master. I don't I guess for GPP3, as you're saying, it still works that way. But that was the idea, that we would set up the BOFA PRW in that same way.
Okay.
So and I guess the way that worked is that some tables were soup master tables, so they would you would check in the soup master and they would propagate to the client. Other ones would just be specific to the client. So you would have one soup master and then a bunch of project clients, and then the changes to like logical fields would propagate to all the clients, all the project clients. But if you want to change rules, you go to that project client, you just change its rules. So some tables were, super and applied to everybody, and some other ones were just specific to the particular project.
Okay, but it never it never progressed in that way, right? Supermaster. It was supposed to be like that, but it never happened in that way, right?
I think it was that way for a while, but then it moved off into what we have now, I think. So
okay. Okay, so if
they went off that.
Okay, so if we move all this table to one single master, that should also be okay, right? In future, if we want to automate it.
Yes, you can do that. Yep.
Oh.
It really just needs a single schema is all it really needs. There's really no reason to have this soup master client structure.
Okay, got it.
Okay, cool. So here's just an example of what used to be an old check-in notification. Now, sometimes we're just telling people to do Jira now. Put in a Jira ticket so we can track it. But they used to send this type of notification and just send it to all. We had this alias called all GPP4 notifications, and they would just say BOFA check-in, and they would give us the QC number. Of course, there would be a Jira number now, and they would say they would tell us the latest changes, and again the QC number, and they'd give us all this information, what branch they checked into, and summary of the QC, and they usually attach the SQL file as well as checking it into the master, and they would give us the scope, and this whole table is what they would give us. So this is what would prompt us to, as a DBA, to know that there's something out there, and we've got to take a look at that. Now again, as I said, I usually tell them just to put in a Jira ticket.
I saw that there they mentioned XML and other columns are also there. So is there something different we need to do, or that is just for the information only?
I think just for information only, yeah. I don't think we ever did anything with the XML columns.
Okay.
So I think it's just informational purposes only, because they also might be checking in code notification. So the run people might want to, or other people might, and this might be saying this to QA people as well. So I think they were just including it as informational purpose.
Okay.
All right, now in this BOFA PRW, we have this whole a little bit convoluted naming convention that we use. Okay. It's just kind of the way that the naming convention used to be, I guess, when they first started using the masters and putting things in the scripts and so forth. So we've maintained it. I don't know, you might be able to move off of this and move to something more standard. Okay. But this is kind of the way we've been doing it. So when the initial check-in is done, there are usually three types of scripts here. We've got that called the UPD scripts. There's an Aura one, there's Aura 1 and Aura 2. The Aura is the initial script, which has any DDL changes, and it's the one that changes the version number initially. And then if there's any 999 changes, we put them in as Aura 1. If there's any 888 changes, we put them in as Aura 2. And then also there's something called message screen, where we put the 1, 2, 3, 4 changes. So this is just the way it develops. So for the initial go around, when we have those changes, this is where we put things. And then once beyond that, there were things called V scripts. So these V scripts were subsequent DDL and 9999 changes. So if we'd already had one check-in, if we had a second check-in with DDL or 9999, we'd create this V script. It would just be V and then the version number .SQL, and we'd put, extract the changes, and it would put them in this V script, and this would be the secondary script. And then there might be a number of these: 01, 02, 03, 04. So those were subsequent changes that we'd have. And then for subsequent 888 changes, what we would do is we would extract them and put them in this system rules file, which could be 01 and 02, 03, depending upon how many times they had 888 changes. We would eventually take these system rule changes and we'd put them all into the UPD or 2 file. So we'd congregate them into the OR2 file, and the customer would just get the OR2 file. Internally, we'd use the system rules file to apply the delta changes, but the customer themselves wouldn't get the system rules file. They would just get the UPD OR2 file, which would have all the rules changes from all the check-ins.
Oh, okay.
So
let me understand it a bit. Like as soon as certain changes developer does, so they ask you to pack for first release, maybe first day. So you would prepare all these UPD ORA 1, 2, and accordingly DDL 99988 changes you put into those scripts. And later on, next day or next day to that developer does any check-ins, then those you will put into the V script or system rule script, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And later on, as you progress, you put all those changes back to the UPD ORA and you clean up all these V scripts and system rule script, right?
Well, the system rule, we do that for the system rules. So for the system rules, the 888 changes, we put all of them into the UPD or 2.
Okay.
But for the V files actually are standalone, and they get sent to the customer.
Oh, okay.
So we don't aggregate the V files into the UPG files. We only aggregate the system rules ones into the UPD or 2 file.
Okay, so client would be getting UPD ORA, UPD ORA 1, UPD ORA 2, message screen, and V scripts, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So we would be covering the sequence of implementing this, or
yeah, I do. Later on, I think I have the extraction scripts.
okay.
So
Okay.
I can take a look. We can take a look at the extraction scripts. Yeah. So let me. So that's kind of the naming convention. Now, here are some master queries that I usually use on. So when you get this check-in notification, you would go with Toad to the client master, and these are usually just some SQL that I run against that master schema. So pre-extraction, I usually run this first one. This first one just gives you an overview of what changes you have in what types. So it will tell you how many 9999 changes, how many 888, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can tell what you need to extract. And then if you want to get into the specific changes, that's what these other 3 do. This one looks at the 9999. These are all outstanding ones that haven't been extracted, so the release number is null.
Okay.
So that's kind of the pre-extraction, what you do, and then you go through the extraction. And I also have some queries for post-extraction, where you can take a look and make sure that the entries were extracted correctly, and the release number is correct. So these are kind of post-extraction. So these are just some queries that I usually run against the client master. So here are the actual extraction scripts. You're asking about the extraction scripts. Here's the one for 9999. So this is the script that would actually. I don't want to go too far here. There we go. Okay, so there's the script. This is just the script that extracts the 9999 changes from the UPGD entries. So the only two things you need to change here, and I run this on just in a DOS window on my laptop. So I change the place where I want to put it, and this is dependent upon, again, that naming convention and whether it's the initial time, or whether it's I need a V script, or what script you need to put it in. So if this is just the initial check-in for a release, I would have the UPD underscore Aura 1 there, .in, and that's where I would put the extraction. But this one here reflects that this is a subsequent check-in, so there's a V script there, indicating it's the second one. It's the 02, so it's the 232.47.02, and I want to extract into that file. So that's where the file you want to extract into. That's where you're going to spool into. And then the other place we change is we change this here. This is what's going to get populated into the release number field. So we usually put the release number here, and then so it would be 40.232.47, and then you can see what we do then is we go in alphabetical order based upon the number of extractions we've done. So the first one is the A extraction, and B and C and D. So this was the D extraction, or the fourth extraction that we did for 999 changes apparently. So those are the two places you need to change for this extraction script. And then, as I said, to run it, you open up the DOS window, SQL plus to the client master, and then you just run this script. The script spools it into the spooling directory and the file name, and then you go there and get the script. Okay. So that's the way extraction takes place.
Okay.
And there are separate scripts for 9999, 8888, and 1234. So here's the 8888 one. So you can see this is going to go to UPD Aura 2.in, and here's the release that we're doing. It's the A extraction, so it's the first extraction, and it's going to really do 8888 scripts. Okay. Or changes. And then separate. There's a one for 1234. So these will go into the message screen. Okay. So that's how the extraction is done.
Okay. One question here. You just mentioned only one master, the client master, but developers also do the check-in for the main master, right? Super master also.
That's correct. Yeah. So when they check in SQL to the supermaster, the tables are changed in the supermaster, but the changes themselves get propagated. The UPGD entries get propagated to the UPG table in the client.
Okay. Okay.
So that's where the UPGD entries will be in the client.
Oh, okay. So whatever the changes there, it propagated to UPGD, and those could be picked from there itself.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So those will be picked up from the client. Yeah.
Okay. So main supermaster also have the UPGD table, right? And changes would be also present there as well.
They'll probably be there as well. Yeah. Yeah. I probably I'm not sure if it skips over putting them there or if it puts them there as well, but it just doesn't fill in the CR number. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure. But
okay, so at this moment, only main master, the super master is used for the check-in, but always the client master is used for picking all the changes.
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it.
Okay. Great. Yeah. So so we do the extractions and we modify the scripts and put them in Perforce, and we do the deployments, as I said, and typically what we used to do is send out a notification that we've done all that. Now, as I said, we usually just put this on the Jira ticket and then close out the ticket. So, but this is usually what we used to say. We said we checked in the files under this particular folder in Perforce for this QC number. There would be a Jira number now. And here's the designation in Perforce where the files are. We say that these changes were extracted for both for freeze database for this QC. We give the version now that the database is at. So that would be you see the A, B, C, D. So this would be an indication of what check-in what number of check-in we've done. Then we indicate we deployed the changes to we don't deploy the dev integration anymore. So it would just be the freeze database, and here's just be the freeze dev sandbox database. So here's the freeze dev sandbox database. So we usually deploy there, and then we tell the run team. We used to have a BA master for these. We don't use the BA master anymore. So this is really isn't needed anymore. We used to tell them not to deploy rules changes to the BA master because they use the BA master for checking in rules. So we don't want duplicates of put it in the UPG again. So, but no one uses the BA master anymore, so we don't really have to worry about that. And then we tell them here to deploy the changes to the BOFA freeze QA. So we tell the run team deploy, and we give them the scripts, and we give them what order to deploy them in. So this is the order they should deploy to the QA when QA is ready to do it. So that's the email we used to send, or what we usually send to the put in the Jira.
Okay. So this is the email for first delivery only, right? Later on, we do not send these scripts, right? Script would be different.
That's right. This is the email we send for each check-in that they do. So a subsequent email would have different scripts in it. Yeah.
Yeah, but basically, if you go on the top, you mentioned that the later on script changes would be with the different name, right?
Right, they would be. Yeah, they would have a V name. Yeah.
Yeah. So the UPD Aura script they would be implementing only once, right? Later on, they would be implementing that V scripts or other scripts, right?
That's correct. They would be implementing the V scripts later on, or the system rules. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they will be deploying later on. Yeah.
Okay. And how is the release number is incremented? You just show me that with A and D. What are those?
Those are just kind of internal things that we used to indicate what extraction number, the number of extraction really. So the first extraction we do is the A extraction, and the second was the B extraction. So those get put into the release number in the UPGD entry. So we can see that for this particular release we had maybe 3 extractions, and here's where we extracted for the A time, and here's where we extracted B time. So you can just view it by it was just a way that we could, split apart those extractions, so we know when they were extracted.
Okay. Just show me that release number where it was earlier.
Release number. Okay. Yeah. It's in the extraction script. So here's the 9999 script. So this we're extracting 99, and here's the here it is right here.
So at the end, the 47 only go to client, but internally you will use A, B, C, D, something like that only, right?
Nope. The 40. Yeah, correct. 47 is what goes to client. Yes. And internally, to keep track of the different extractions, we use the A, B, C, D. Yeah.
Okay. So internally for A, B, C, D also we have for different folders, or within the single folder we maintain everything.
We just have the single folder. Yeah, the ABCD is really for the DBA purposes, for being able to look at the UPG entry and see what extraction was done for. But the ABCD doesn't really go anywhere. It just goes in the UPGD table.
Okay. For example, yesterday some changes were done. We assigned it A. Okay, in the UPGD, and we picked it and we placed all the changes in UP Aura 1, UP Aura, or UP Aura 2. Then later today they did certain changes. We assigned it a B, and again we we place it in the same UPD aura, right? Or we place it in on those other scripts?
It doesn't actually go in any scripts. The ABCD doesn't go in any scripts. It only goes into the UPGD entry, the release column, number column in the UPGD entry.
Yeah.
So
That I understood.
well,
It's only for the UPGD aura only, right?
that's correct.
Yeah. So yesterday they did certain changes. For example, there were two changes were for two tables. We assigned it with UPGD A. We picked it and we placed those changes into UPD Aura, those script in the purpose, right?
Yep.
Or in your machine only.
You put in Perforce. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then today again they did certain changes. We assign UPGD Aura with serial number as a B. And those changes we again place in UPD those scripts or the different scripts.
They would then the changes would probably go in the V scripts.
Okay.
So that the subsequent second set of changes it would probably go into a V script.
Okay.
So that V script then would go into Perforce.
Okay. So only most probably the changes with the A would go to the UPD Aura, then our subsequent changes would be to the subsequent V scripts.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the subsequent ones would be the V scripts. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. We can progress.
Okay. Sure. All right. So let's see. Okay. So we went over this, right? Yeah. No, that's the notification, and then here are just some we talked about some special items you might need to notify the run team about. We really haven't done a lot of these recently. Probably the most recent one we've done is probably the interface types. That maybe is the most one that comes up most often, just to alert the client that there are new entries or changes in the interface table, which may require client configuration. So they may require the client to change their connection point. So we need to alert the run team to include that in the installation notes so the client knows about that. In the past, we've had these other things, but not recently. Maybe some things about table spaces, hard-coded table spaces, alerting the client about that. They use different data spaces than the non-standard ones. Ad hoc scripts, we talked about that. Maybe some of those in the past. Maybe there've been some system parameters that we've changed that we need to notify the client about, and they need to set them up to support some new functionality. These things have had in the past, but not recently.
What are the table spaces does client have? Like in SP we now have P data, P lob, and P indexes. So what are other different same table spaces or different?
They have the same one. Both use the same ones. Internally, we have those same table spaces. I think it's just that sometimes the clients I guess name their table spaces differently. I don't know. Maybe they don't do that for their production databases, but I've seen them name them differently, right? I'm sure you've seen that too. That they have their custom names that they want to call the table spaces. So they may need to modify these scripts if they don't use P data. They use some special nomenclature for that table space.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so that is the process for checking builds and deployments, and so the scripts accumulate, of course, for a particular release, and then we need to package it. We talked about packaging it and using Banner Aura and going through the DB check and creating an execution script and things like that, and putting them all in the two-bank folder. This is usually the email that we used to send for notifying the run team that the script processing has been done, or and actually this is the okay, this is okay, yeah. So this is the one that we would notify the run team. So we used to send a script to the config release team, which is now the run team, and we used to tell them we'll take a backup of the QA schema. Not sure if we really do that anymore, but we take backups yeah, we take backups on automated schedule now, so we don't think we do this manually, but we should tell them we'll take a backup of QA, and then here's the release number that we've got, and the DB scripts are ready on the server. Here's where the DB check portion. Here's where we tell them what the DB check found in terms of there's no US1 references. There are several GPK references, but there's no need to take action because it's okay if they have GPK reference, but the US1 was the one we used to have to change. This one also says there are no interface type references. If there were interface type references and the customer needed to be alerted, we would tell them what the interface type name was and what the connection point was. Would provide that information to the run team so they could tell the client they need to change the connection point for this particular interface type entry. Okay. Then we give them the file specification on Banner Aura where the scripts are. So here's the designation that they're in the BOFA releases directory. Here's the version name and the date that we have, and then we put everything in the final stuff all in this to bank folder. So this is the stuff that needs to run team needs to pull and send it in and deliver to the bank.
Okay.
This is just the email that the run team would typically send out to prompt the DBA to go ahead and package the scripts. So okay. That's how we know to go ahead and package the script.
Okay.
And I think that's the end of my notes for the key points here.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the workflow. That's the notes, which have some content on the how to do the workflow. So I think that's pretty much what I have for BOFA.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Any questions on that, or where do you want to proceed from here?
I got a lot of things here. I understood a lot of things. I don't think I have anything as of now. Might be once we start, maybe we can have, but we can progress now. Maybe we can refer your video back if we get something in future.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. So I know it's getting late there. I don't know if you want to proceed with something else, or you just want to have a session, or.
If it's okay with you, we can proceed because the holiday is around for us, so maybe we might be traveling maybe from tomorrow also. So
sure.
No. We can continue if it's okay with you.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. So where should we go from here? We've done an overview of the U.S. databases. We've done BOFA. I could go to BG, and I could do that. Or if there's something else that you want me to do before that, or for.
Just can we get some overview of these masters and something? Maybe we can see what exactly you do. Maybe.
Okay, overview
of these processes.
Okay, I mean, I guess I could send you these documents. Is that what you mean? The documents that I've got, I'll send you all of these.
Right.
Yeah, I think so you'll have those.
Okay. Okay, I think I believe we did this last time also, so we can progress further. Right. No issue. You can best whatever you think, whatever the most complicated thing. Apart from this, we can progress with that.
Okay. Let me see. What else should I tell you here? Well, I can progress with BG, and we can go over that if you'd like to go over that.
Okay.
So you have a sense of that. So let me do that. Let me bring up a workflow diagram for that. BG. Okay, here's the BG DBA stuff. Okay, so can you see my workflow for BG?
Yeah, I can see it.
Oh, okay, great. Now, BG, of course, is a DB2
Mhm.
based,
Mhm.
and it is like
BG is a bank name or it's some project name or so? What exactly?
I don't think they're technically a bank.
Mhm.
It stands. I forget what it stands. It's I'm not sure how to pronounce what it stands for. It's I'm just trying to think if I have it anywhere here. Yeah, I'd have to pull up an email with a
No,
from
no, it's
BG maybe with a. But
okay.
anyway, it's like there's a pronunciation for it.
Mhm.
But it used to be called BGC.
Mhm.
Now they call themselves BG, and it stands for something. But it's not a bank. That my understanding, it's not a bank. It's maybe a clearinghouse for banks or someone who helps banks. Banks are their clients, I think. It's based in Europe. I think it's. I want to say. I don't know if it's. I think it's one of the Norway or Sweden or one of those countries. I think is where they're based. But they have clients, I guess, in the European
Mhm.
area,
Okay.
and I think they provide some of these services for those clients. That's my understanding of BG. I'm not,
Okay.
and I don't know totally about them, but that's my understanding of them.
Okay.
So they have DB2. They wanted to use DB2, so we put the GPP product on DB2,
Mhm.
and that they run the product on GB2.
Okay.
So there's a certain workflow here to them as well. Again, it's a totally manual process here.
Mhm.
Uh, and let me just pull up my BG stuff here. Sheet here. Okay, BG, there we go. All right, so let's take a look at the workflow here. Again, a manual process. So is a check-in, and the developer has a defect, and they go through their dev cycle and they test it, and they want to now check it in and make it part of the product. So they typically what we've been doing in the past is there's been an area in Perforce, a development folder for each release, and they would check it into that development folder. Now it's kind of there's all newer people now on BG, and so they're what they've kind of been doing now is just sending me the SQL
Mhm.
they want to check in, and I've been then putting it in that development folder,
Mhm.
just so we have a record of the check-in.
Okay.
BG does have a reporting database, but the only extent of what we do with it is we make sure that that database is up to date with some structure changes. I think is what we do.
Mhm.
Um, we don't have the Golden Gate or the Golden Gate equivalent. There's an IBM Golden Gate equivalent. I forget exactly what it's called.
Mhm.
We made the provision with BG that we weren't gonna. They didn't want to pay us to have it and to set it up, so we didn't do it. So we don't have it set up here.
Mhm.
So unlike the Golden Gate ones where we have it set up here and we actually test the replication, we don't test that for BG. We tell them that we'll support the replication database in terms of the application server can access it and they can produce reports and things like that maybe. But we're not going to test the replication. The actual replication from active to reporting is your responsibility.
Mhm.
But we do send scripts if there are changes, structure changes that, or other structure changes, I think is the only thing we do, that need to be put into this reporting database.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be SQL for the active database. There could be SQL for the reporting database as well.
Mm-hmm. So all the tables in the active are part of reporting, means
No, there's only a subset.
okay.
There's only a subset in the reporting.
Mm-hmm.
I think we originally specified what subset they should have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who came up with that list, but I think we originally said these are the tables that you should be replicating. And then they purchased the IBM product and they set up the replication themselves. Now does the replication do DDL as well?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, to tell you the truth, whether it does DDL or not, or maybe just does the DML.
Okay, so generally, if DDL is there, then only it might be applicable for reporting, right? And in that case only.
That's correct. We usually don't do any DML in the
Okay.
in the reporting database. Yeah.
Okay. So
it's just structure changes. Things like indexes, maybe indexes on some of the tables. We just did that recently, fairly recently. They had some indexes that they wanted on NIMF, so those were applied to the active database, the reporting database as well as active.
Okay. Okay. For example, if some developer send us the DDL script for one table, so on our own we introduce it to the report, or developer themselves they suggest this should go to active and report both. How it's managed?
Last time they for these indexes on the MIM table, they just sent the script. I had to go back and prompt them and say, do you want this applied to active or reporting or both? So they didn't specify that specifically, but then they came back and told me that we want it done with both.
Okay.
And now they're actually kind of backtracking. We actually sent out a script that applies the structure changes to active indexes to both active and reporting. And now the client is saying, I don't need them in my active database. They just slow down my performance. Why did you put them there? So now they've come back to us and say, can we get rid of these in the active database? We just want to have them in the reporting database because where we do our reporting. And I think I think it's been indicated to them, we don't need them in the active database. So they're probably going to drop them in their active database.
Okay.
Or maybe we're going to send out a script to drop them. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But
okay.
So anyway, yeah.
We would be covering the list of tables as part of report here. Do we have some list of that, and we will be covering that as well?
I'd have to search for.
Okay. No issue. You can check it and maybe provide it later because.
Okay. Let me a list of tables. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a reporting database here that we use, I think, for the QA environment. There is a database, but we don't. I think the way we did is we just clone the active, so I think it has all the tables. It doesn't have a subset. We only use it really for checking these scripts and for so that they can do their testing here from a GPP point of view. As I said, we don't have any replication that goes back and forth. So I think the way we just created them is I don't know if we did a subset of the tables or we just put all the tables in there, and because we just want to test the functionality. So but I'll get a list of those tables that are in their database. Okay. All right, so they provide us with a SQL typically now is what they usually do, and then I'll put it in the development folder now, so we have a record of it. So they send a check notification. Usually they send an email. It's what they've been doing. I asked them to put a Jira ticket in with all the information. So that's what I've been doing is telling them to put in a Jira ticket for this. So that's what the check-in constitutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a similar build type process. We don't have any extraction or anything. It's mostly just taking what they're giving us and looking at it and tweaking it a little bit if needed. So we pick up the developer's SQL from Perforce, or they give us a SQL, and then we pick up what we put in Perforce. We tweak the SQL as needed for any type of reusability or performance or table spaces. If it's the first check-in, then we create the release folder in Perforce. So currently, where are we at now? We're currently at the only branch, like BOFA, the only branch we do anything in now really is freeze. There are other branches. Maybe they rebase sometimes to those branches, but they don't really check in to those branches. So the only check-ins I think we've been doing is in freeze. The current freeze is 113.17.
Mm-hmm.
I think is the latest one.
Okay.
I have that here. Okay. Leave that one out. Okay. That's the one I have here anyway. So 113.17 I think is the latest one that we're doing. So if it's the first we check in again, we create the release folder. What we send to the client for BGC is we usually have a shell script, which is an install script, and then we have SQL files. So the shell script is called this install db2patch.dh.
Okay.
This is what the customer will run to install all of the SQL.
Mm-hmm.
So typically what we do here is I just copy one from a previous release, and I tweak it a little bit for the release number and mainly for the release number and for the script designations as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the script that the customer runs. It applies the scripts to their active database. They provide that information on what the database name is and the schema information, and it applies the scripts to those active database. And then if there is a change for the reporting database, they provide that information on what that database is and what that schema is, what that password is, and then this will apply the scripts to that database as well. So we need to create that file for the release. Then we also need to create or modify these V4 files. So they have a name called V4, and I think it says it's V4 then the release number, I think .sql, something like that. But we call them V4 files. There may be, there's usually only one now, but in the past they've been multiple. There could be multiple ones, but we usually just have one and we just keep adding to it. Mm-hmm. So we add for this check-in, we would add the developer's SQL, presuming it looks correct or whatever way we've tweaked it, to the end of the script. And the script also does update the version table as well. So we would add that to the end of the script if it wasn't there already, if we're not adding something already to a script that's already existing. So we add the SQL developer. It's a manual process. Just copy and paste it into there and tweak it in whatever way we might need to tweak it. Same thing for the HD scripts. So we again add the developer.
What do you mean by developer SQL means? SQL prompt, SQL that statement you mean to, right?
Right, whatever the developer sent us.
Oh, okay.
So the developer usually sends us the code. the SQL.
Okay. Got
So
it.
they would send us the create statements or the DML statements or whatever it is that they want to apply.
Okay.
And then we usually take a look at it and make sure it looks correct to us. Or if they have inserts, I know if deletes, we will add in deletes or whatever the code needs. We'll tweak it a little, as I said, modify it a little bit so that it's correct from what we know about DB2 and the way it needs to be applied to DB2. And then we'll take that code and we put that code in these V4 scripts. So we create these scripts, the shell script and the V4 active scripts. Then we have a test database, DB2 database, called testbgc. That's the database name, and the username and password are all testbgc. And we test these on the server. It's that New Jersey server that I talked about. That's the only server that we use for BG. So it's the only one running the DB2. So we copy those install and the V4 files to a particular directory, and we'll run the install script twice, and we'll ensure that there are no errors in running the scripts on the test BGC database. Or if there are errors, there are explainable errors. Then we'll check in the files, the install file, and any V4 scripts into Perforce. So that's what we do for the build portion.
So these scripts are rerunnable scripts, like delete insert. It include delete insert.
The DML is rerunnable.
Okay.
Has delete insert. The DDL is not. There's no wrapper around it like we have with the Oracle that catches the errors and allows the script to go on error free. So the DDL will fail. So I think that's just kind of the way it is. We just didn't develop any wrapper for the DDL.
Okay. So here developers, they might be keep on sending the changes to us, maybe in a mail or maybe in some purpose file. So we'll pick those and put it in V4 scripts, right, with the release number to it, added release number.
That's correct. Yeah. We'll just keep adding it to the V4 files. Yeah.
Okay. So whenever we send a script release to client, it might contain only one V4 script, or it might multiple V4 script.
It might have multiple ones. There might be one for the active database and one for the reporting database. Also, there might be multiple ones for just the active database because there's a different delimiter that can be used for DB2. If you're just doing DML, like updates, inserts, we use the semicolon. Typically, we just use the semicolon. But for PL SQL blocks, procedures, things like that, we can't use the semicolon because it's embedded within those. So we use the slash. So the slash is the delimiter. So we need to run those two in different ways. There's a different command line. And we specify the delimiter on the command line, the DB2 command line, whether we're going to use semicolon, whether we're going to use slash. So there may be, based upon what's checked in, there may be a different V4 file for the semicolon and one for the slash.
Okay. But while giving the scripts to QA, right? QA also do the implementation on their own of the script, or we only implement everything for them and they just ask to test them?
We implement for them. Yeah. So there's a deployment portion here. So that's the build portion with the scripts. And there's a deployment portion here where we deploy to potentially the sandbox, dev.i. We don't usually, as I said, we don't usually use dev.i anymore. So you can skip that. We report to we do the reporting database and the QA database. Now, Sandbox usually doesn't have a reporting database. The QA, I think, does have a reporting database. So we would deploy to the QA active database and the QA reporting database if there is a need for that. So that's if needed, not all the time. We wouldn't always have changes to the reporting database. So typically to do that, you just follow this procedure here. You bring down the environments, you copy the install scripts and the v4 scripts that you want to deploy to the database server into an empty directory. And then you, let's see, okay, then you would run the install script, and the install script then would you provide the information on the active database and password and so forth, and it would run that against the active database, and then would, if there's any reporting database portion, you would provide that information, and that would run that against the reporting database. Then it produces output saying whether it was errors or not. It actually greps the log, and it tries to determine whether there were errors or not. So if there's no errors, then fine. If there are errors, then you need to review the logs and make sure they are explainable errors. Like if it's DDL, then you know, if something already exists, then you may get a DDL error at that point. Maybe somebody created it ad hoc or something like that. But anyway, just got to take a look at the logs, and if it says there's errors, and make sure that they're explainable. And then bring up the environment with the appropriate code base. Typically, I will deploy to the sandbox, and then again, like with BOFA, the run team will deploy to the QA database. Whenever the QA wants that deployed. Then there's a wrap up to the check-in as well.
Dave, I have a question here.
Sure.
That the QA deployment may be proceed in steps, right? Maybe today developer gives some changes, and maybe future before release happens, they keep on giving the changes. So as you mentioned, there would be a single v4 script. There might be a single v4 script, right? So once we get do put all the changes and implement on the QA, okay. So next time, if you are getting changes within that same release from the developer, you run that same script again, or you run only the partial changes which are new only?
What we usually do is run just the partial changes.
Okay.
So what I'll do is usually I think the way we've done it in the past, I think, is the run team does the initial deployment, because that's all the changes so far. But then subsequent deployments, the DBA will do it for them, so that only the delta is applied. So what I'll do is I'll take the scripts, I'll put them, the scripts that have all the changes, I'll put them into a directory, and then I'll just cut out the changes that we've already done. So if there've been 2 check-ins, the second check-in, I'll cut out I'll just go into the script on the server, just for deployment purposes. I'll just get rid of the first set of changes. I'll only have the second set of changes, and then I'll run the install script, and it'll just deploy the second set of changes only, and not the first set.
Okay.
So, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the last portion here, like the BOFA, is a wrap up where we just send out emails saying we've done the build, and here it's in Perforce, and this is the name of the files, and the we've done deployment to the and so forth. And we'll just sometimes there have been special items for BG as well. Maybe sometimes I've had ad hoc scripts and things like that. Not very much recently that I know of. And then I think that's it. So for each check-in, we will repeat those steps: build, deploy, wrap up, and go through that process. Then for delivery here, the run team pretty much handles the delivery on their own. They just go into the release directory in Perforce, they pull the install scripts, the v4 scripts, they package them up, and they put them on the FTP site, and that's where the customer gets them along with the code of course, along with any installation instructions, and that's how we come out to the customer. So that's kind of the workflow here of the BG. So I do have another document as well with like with both. I had a key points document. I have one for that for BG as well. And if you want, we can go over that. Okay, let me pull that up here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got some key points here for BG. Can you see my BG screen? BG, some key points?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so in the US, there's just this one database server that we use for BG. In the host name is here. It's in New Jersey. I said it's a VM. So there's the IP address. And I do have the information on the login information. I'll send that to you. So the password information. We always log in as DB2INST1. That's the login that they use. There are separate logins for each of the different databases. That's the way that DB2 does their login checking. They don't have unlike Oracle, they don't have a separate login password system. They use the Linux login passwords for DB2 purposes. So we have the instance, which is always called DB2INST1. We have separate databases for each environment. So there would be a BG Freeze QA. And then we have the schemas here. So there's always a DB2INST1 schema. I think there's a separate schema which usually matches the database name. So we'd log into the database BG Freeze QA as the user BG Freeze QA with the password BG Freeze QA. So it's all the same for each of the database, the user, and the password. There's an environments page. It's the same environments page that we went to before. It's just at the top there's a BG tab instead of the Bover tab, and that will give you the information on the database and the username password information. So you can consult that. There is a database we set up in India, in Pune. I don't know if they use this anymore, but we did set one up. So there is a server over there that has, I guess maybe it still has a database. I haven't accessed it in quite a while. But we did set something up over there. So if you were thinking of transferring things, maybe that might be a possibility. Let's see. To access DB2 databases, you can access them, of course, by going to the server and running DB2 commands on the command line, or you can use SQL Developer to do it. There are some DB2 jar files that you need to set up in your SQL Developer. You need to set them up in a certain way, and then you can access DB2 databases with SQL Developer. Let's see here. So you would set up a separate, once you have the jar files, you set up a separate connection for each of the databases. So here would be an example for BG Freeze QA. So you'd set up your connection, the username BG Freeze QA, the password BG Freeze QA. You would have a DB2 tab here now, and there's the host name. The port is typically 50,000. No, that's the only one we use, 50,000. So yeah, it's always 50,000. And the database is BG Freeze QA. So that would get you connected, and you could run your SQL commands through SQL Developer and access things that way. You can't do everything that you can do with the DB2 command line. I mean, most things that you want to do, certainly the DML and stuff like that, SQL statements. So that's the SQL Developer. So here's the views that we're at now. There's Sched, Freeze, Pre-Prod, and Prod. The only one that any check-ins are being done against is Freeze. The current release that we're at is 113.17, as I said, 4.0.113.17
Okay.
is the current release.
70, right?
17. I'm sorry.
One.
Did I say 70? I meant 17.
Okay.
17. So
Okay.
113.17. Yeah. That one went out. How do I have that date here? July, I think, is when they did the check-in for that. I'm not sure when it went out the door. I could check that. So that's but there are other views. They have other schemas and other views. They do rebasing, but I don't think they do any. They only check things into freeze that I've seen lately anyway. So all these are perforce. So the one you want to be concerned about is just the freeze one. So you can access all of these scripts in perforce. And in perforce, again, there, as I said, there's a development area, there's a release area. The idea was that the developers would check into the development area and just put the raw code there, and then the DBAs would produce the release area with all the finished scripts. So that's kind of the idea. So you'll see a development area there. You'll see a release area with all the different releases. You'll see 4.0.117, 4.0, the 113.17, 16, 14, and so forth. So everything's there. Here's typically, again, the way they did before is they check in notifications via email. I've asked them again to put JIRA tickets in with this same information. But again, it would be the same information. They would check it in. They want to check it into BGC freeze. Here's the plan release they want it to go on. They would just fill in all these fields. They give synopsis of what defect it does, whether it's a rule change. So I guess this one is or something with a reporting database enhancement. And then the deployment, whether it's DB only or whether it's code, and as I said, typically the idea was they would check it into this development area, and tell us about it. There'll be two different development areas, one for the active, one for the HD. They haven't been doing that. They've just been sending me the SQL, and I've been doing that manually. So that's the way that we get notified that there's a change, and they want this to be changed to the customer. Here's the naming convention that I mentioned here. So here's the shell script. This is the installation shell script. This is just a regular shell script that runs DB commands. So asks the user for the information for the database, the schema name, the password, and then it will run the scripts against that database. It will spool them into a log file and corrupt the log file and make a determination what there are errors and so forth. So that's just what it does. And then there's two different types of scripts. There's scripts for the active database and scripts for the reporting database. So here's the typical name that we would give it. It's a v4 file. I guess they go v4 bgc 4.0 113. That would be the release number, and then underscore 01 dot SQL. And if there's a second one, it's underscore 02, of course, and 03, so forth. So this is a SQL script. It contains all of the SQL, the DDL and the DML and the stored procedures, anonymous blocks, anything needs to get run against the active database. One or more scripts may be used based upon the type of SQL and in the statement terminator. As I said, we talked about semicolon versus slash. And if there's a different, if you want a logical different grouping of the work, then sometimes we've put them in different files in the past. So, and in the past we've had large files, so we've wanted to separate them out because it's been. Recently, it's just been smaller files. Same thing for the HD scripts. So we'd put the. I don't think we usually We don't usually use the DML, as I said, for the HT. It's just the DDL. And there have been stored procedures for the HT. There's some different stored procedures they want to use for in their reporting database versus the active database. In terms of in the active database, we have like the Oracle equivalent of an end of day thing that we'll get rid of partitions in the active database based upon certain date or however long they want to keep them, because they don't want to keep them around in the active database, of course. In the reporting database, there are stored procedures based upon there's one that extracts some of the data into a raw data file, and then they archive those, and then there's another one that gets rid of anything that's been extracted. So there's a little different stored procedures in those two. So I talked about statement terminator.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we can either use semicolon or slash can be the statement terminator for the v4 files. And if it's something that's got embedded semicolons, like a stored procedure, an anonymous block, we have to use the slash. And there's different ways of calling them. So here's the way of calling it if we use the semicolon. Mm-hmm. So if we use a semicolon, there's no D. You can see that here. The D delimiter, or no delimiter parameter. Okay. There's no minus D. Okay, so that's the way different ways you call them.
Okay. So you mean if we included semicolon, then we will tell DB2 that semicolon is a terminator with if you get semicolon, then that's the end of the statement, right? Like DML is ended or DDL ended. That's what, right?
That's correct. Yeah. If we're going to use semicolon, we would use this command line to run the SQL.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If we're going to use slash as the delimiter, then we use this command line.
Okay. And you showed that shell script, right? So it implements multiple script on its own, or how it works?
The shell script implements multiple scripts. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll apply all the scripts. So apply whatever scripts need to be applied to the active database, so apply those. Whatever scripts need to be applied to the reporting database, it will apply those. So it applies all the scripts.
Okay, so in this case here we have 4.0.113.0101. So the next script might be 02 and next script might be 03. So it implements sequentially, or how it works?
Yeah, I think it will do them sequentially. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I think they'll be just, unless there's, we'll put them sequentially. Yeah, I probably no order to them in terms of
okay,
the ordering of the changes. But yeah, they would do 1, 2, 3, yes, sequentially. Yeah.
And reporting also, it does automatically, or it has to be upgraded separately?
No, it's included as part of the same install script.
Okay. Okay, got it.
Okay, cool. Let me just see if I can pull one up here just to show you 117. Let me pull this up here. All right, can you see my Notepad Plus?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, good. Okay, so these are just some subroutines that it calls to get the reporting database password and so forth. The real script begins down here. So it's just a fairly simple script. It's just enter the active username, the active database, and get the password as well. And then if there are changes for the reporting database, we put this portion in. Otherwise, we just skip it. We just leave it out of the install script. So, but here there were changes for the reporting database. So we first asked them, is there a reporting database? Maybe they're applying it to some UAT environment or something where there isn't a reporting database and they don't want to apply these changes. So is there a reporting database you want to apply to, and then gets the information for that reporting database. Then it just applies them. So it does a DB2 connect, connect the active database. It runs the command, the DB2 command that we just saw. So this one uses a semicolon as the delimiter. So it runs it and puts it all in the log. I
But
think it
you haven't
adds
mentioned semicolon there, right?
if there's no minus D,
Mhm.
then it assumes that the default delimiter is semicolon.
Okay.
So if we don't specify a minus D parameter here,
Mhm.
then the default will be to use semicolon as a delimiter.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Yep. So this is the target here. So we do the same thing with the target. We connect to the reporting database, and then we run the script here against the reporting database and collect it in the log file.
So we have to manually change these into the script, whatever the script we want to run.
Yes, we do. Yeah, you have to manually change the scripts that you want to run. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
So you have to for each different release. Yep. And then it checks for errors here down at the bottom. So I think it does a like a find command that looks like here, looking for the logs, and then it grabs the logs and sees if there are any errors. For DB2, the errors come out with SQL state. It's like the OR dash of DB2. So it looks for SQL state. It excludes some of them because there are some that are innocuous. If you try to update, I think in DB2, and there's no rows to update, it throws out one of these. I think it throws out this SQL state. So that one is really one that can be excluded. It doesn't need to be flagged as one that really is a real error. I don't know why it does that, but that's the way the DB2 works. So there are a few here that just takes them off and doesn't flag those as errors. But if there are any other ones with SQL state, then it'll flag those as errors and it'll say the patch was installed. Well, if it doesn't see anything, it'll say patch was installed, no errors. Otherwise, it'll say there were errors and please check out the log files to see what those errors were and see whether something should be done about them.
Right.
So that's the script here for the install script.
How as you mentioned, this internally you might be using this for first time only, right? Because whatever the first time we put in the script, and next time if the changes we get, we run it. You run it manually, or you create it a different next script.
I will run it for the second. Like if there's one check-in, you're talking about the second check-in. What happens?
Mm-hmm.
The second check-in, I'll put the changes usually in the same files.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just add the changes on. So I'll keep the install script the same.
Okay.
But when I go to deploy it for these V scripts, right? So we can see, look at the V scripts here and look what those are. But the V scripts, I will take out the first changes. So I'll just physically cut them out.
Okay.
And I'll run the install script. So the install script will run the same script, but it will be a script with only the second set of changes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the way it works. So you can see here's a V script if you want to look at a V script. Here's the DML. Here's some DML that they did. Delete logical fields, and it looks, the DML for DB2 is pretty much identical to the DML for Oracle. The structure changes might be a little different format. So you can see some of these structure changes. They added some columns to the nav table. Then they had some comments on the columns, and here were the indexes they talked about. They added all these indexes for to the mem table for performance purposes for the reporting. Now, of course, they they want them only in the reporting database. Anyway, so that's kind of just a script. So I can go back to the workflow.
Okay.
One here. Is this the right one? Yeah, the workflow one we're talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
For DB2. Okay. So I think we finished with that, right? We Now I'm
Yeah.
talking about the key points. Sorry.
Right.
So here's the key points, and here's the statement terminated. We talked about that. We talked about the DML. So they're placed in the v4 files, create and alter statements. There's no equivalent to catch and suppress the exceptions. I told you that.
Mm-hmm.
So the statements in DB2 are a little, sometimes a little bit different than Oracle. So you can see here's an example here. The alter statement in Oracle, the alter statement in DB2, a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Similar, but just a little different. So we need to be might need to be aware of that. There's for DB2, DB2 requires reorging. Oracle doesn't seem to require the reorging, but if we make structure changes in DB2, we need to reorg the table. I guess that just eliminates the fragmentation of the table. I guess it does, or I think that's the idea behind the reorg. So if you're adding columns, or you're increasing column length, or doing some search changes, reorg needs to be done. If you don't do the reorg after a while, DML will fail when you try to do inserts and updates. The table they'll fail eventually. So reorg needs to be done.
What command exactly it would be to reorg? Or?
Yeah, let me bring that up because I had to do a reorg here. So you can see the reorg here, reorg table minv. So I added the columns and I reorged the table.
Okay, only simple reorg table MINF, that's it.
Yep, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that needs to be done for the DDL for tables. Yeah.
Okay, so will that add any performance impact on the production while implementing these scripts? It might take some time or something.
It will take some time. It could take some time if it's a large table. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like the MIM table might take some time. So I actually had made the suggestion that they run this script during some maintenance period where they could. I assume they bring the environment down anyway to run the scripts, but they should allocate some time for that type of script if their MIM table is large.
Okay. How large are these tables at the bank? I have any idea?
I think the bank has millions. I think millions certainly. I don't know if they have tens of millions or.
Okay.
I think they've got. I think BG has a large database, production database. Yeah, from what I've heard. Shlomi. I don't know if you know Shlomi or not, but he used to tell me that the BG database was fairly large and a lot of different rows. So I think it's in the millions certainly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, got it.
Okay, let me go back here to it's here. All right, so here's a sample. Once you've done the building and the deployment, here's again like BOFA. Here's a simple sample email that we used to send for notification. We would specify the QC, which would be a JIRA number now, and we would just say we've deployed the changes to these environments. Typically, we usually don't deploy to QA unless it's the second go around. But we will specify the environments that we've deployed this to. Here are the scripts. Here's the shell script. Here's the other scripts. We've checked them into Perforce. We've tested them against the test database. And here are the checked-in files in Perforce. So that's a typical notice that we give of what we've done. There sometimes have been in the past some special items, some table spaces maybe hard-coded, or I guess the interface types were applicable to here as well. Ad hoc scripts we've had in the past. We haven't had a lot of these special items lately, but these are things just from the past that have come up. There may be some DB2 parameters we have to alert them about. There was this parameter called ATS, or scheduler parameter, that they needed to have running in order for things to run correctly, we actually separated out the end of day task into two parts, and we made it asynchronous. So the interface from the GPP would just call a scheduler and schedule the end of day, and then this scheduler then would run the task. So so we needed to tell them to make sure this scheduler routine was running.
Okay, so all these parameters are suggested by developer, or we need to do some investigation and we provide the parameters. How do we work for that?
Well, we were the developers for this automated asynchronous end of day. We did the development for it, so we knew that we would have to do it. So there's no developers for it, but yeah, I guess the developers would have to tell us if they were running something that required a DB2 parameter.
Okay.
That that the customer needed to set this parameter a certain way in order for this code to work, or in order for this routine to work. Yeah.
Okay.
And then there may have been there are also some system parameters we may had to tell them about in the past. I think there was one called our keep days, which indicated how many days to keep, how many partitions to keep in the partition tables. So DB2 does have partition tables like Oracle, like the MIMF, New Journal, Message External in Action, those type of tables. The partitions, unlike in Oracle, the partitions aren't automatically created though. We have to create them. They have to be created manually. Internally, we create them with a cron job that runs each day and creates the next. We usually keep 30 or 60 days, something like that, in the future of partitions, and then each day we create one more. So we're always keeping 60 days out. So that's something that we do. And then I guess that's about it. So those are the key items for BG and DB2. So I think that kind of goes over the workflow. That goes over the key points.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything else. I mean, I do have some other stuff I can send you on. I know you guys have worked with DB2, but I can send you other stuff just on the commands, some of the commands if you you want to see some of that. I've sent that before, so I don't know if you still have that, but I can send it again. It just goes over some of the the administrative type commands, how to back up a database, how to restore a database, how to do those type of things. So I don't know if you want any of that or not, but for the flow of the config release type flow, that's pretty much it. The workflow we've gone over and the key points, and that will allow you to process DB2 or process BG check-ins.
Right. Sure. Definitely, I might be needing other documents as well.
Sure.
And probably I will go through these details maybe, and again, if it would be great if we give me more session with the DB2 with certain commands also, that would also be good. Whatever you are usually doing, because we never worked on the DB2. Last time we had a session also, but post that we never used it back. So it would be better if we have some session for that also. And if I have any question related to this flow, or we can see certain files or the maybe certain steps in reality, that would be very helpful for me.
Sure. Whatever questions you have, whatever you need, we can certainly do whatever you need.
Yeah, sure. So what is exactly you are in Burlington, right? Or
Burlington, that's correct, yes.
Okay, so what is the time now? Means what is the time difference between here and India and
I think it's 9.5 hours. Right now it's almost 1 o'clock here, 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay, 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
So is it 10:30 there? 10:30 there?
Yeah, right? it's a 10:30.
10:30, okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so possibly we can start a bit earlier also, maybe if required, right?
Yeah, we can start earlier. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe let's say we started at 10:30 our time. We could maybe start it at 2 hours earlier if that's earlier or better for you. Maybe
Yeah,
8:30 our time, which would be what time would that be for you?
yeah, yeah.
um, 2 hours prior to when we started. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought you it might be very early for you. That's why I scheduled a bit late. And again, we were having sessions for DBA champions also. So I was conducting training for Tel Aviv. So that was seven,
Okay.
six to seven. That was the session we had.
Okay.
So let me see this. Let me go through this today, and if I have anything, maybe if I required, I will schedule a session for tomorrow, if only required. And let's see if I can catch you back in next week before you move out.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Sure. No problem.
Okay. Okay.
See.
Yeah. Thanks, Dev. Thank you very much for the session. It was very useful.
Sure. Sure. No
So,
problem.
yeah, so please share these documents. Meanwhile, maybe if required, I can go through these tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. I'll send them to you. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Have a good night.
Yeah, good day for you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.